Hello and welcome to the Outcast. I'm your host HC, and with me is.
Wolf.
And today, it's time for the Suicide Squad Isekai. Two things nobody ever expected to say in the same sentence,
But
let alone product. Yet here we are.
it is probably one of the best meshing, coming together of your interests and my interests, to be clear. So it is something that I think we kind of have to cover, right?
Gonna say is that you and I have a different definition of best,
Well, I
but
mean, you enjoy DC, even if you're not like a huge
uh,
DC fan. Like you're more into DC than I am, and I am, I would say, more into Isekai than you are. So I think
I
this
guess
is like
so.
considering it's us and it's the Outcast, we have to cover it. We have to talk
Oh,
about Suicide
definitely.
Squad Isekai.
I'm always up for talking about weird ass ideas that some executive might have there. But you know what? Before this, I just kind of want to talk about. So obviously, you have more experience with isekai anime than I do.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the Suicide, even though you say that DC is probably more my territory, I'm not sure how much that is true. I'm more of a Marvel fan, but
It's more than mine, I would say.
okay,
I
but
think you know
either
more
way.
about like comics and superhero stuff than I do. To be
And
fair,
this is the point where I say, probably going to disappoint you. I have no idea who the fuck the Suicide Squad were until like 2014, maybe.
fair enough.
Okay, let's say it like this. To most, I guess, because we kind of need to get this out of the way. None of us are big fans of the Suicide Squad to the point that we can tell you fun facts and trivia about the crew. What I can tell you is that we the first time I've like heard of them as a group was in the Batman Assault on Arkham animated movie, which
Mm,
is taking place in the in the Arkham Asylum universe.
yeah,
So, so that's the first time I've heard of them, and then suddenly DC be like, "Hey, we are making a movie about them," and spoiler alert if you can't remember, that movie sucks. But okay, for the record, the 2016 Suicide Squad movie, it has style, I'll never take that away from it, but it's not a good movie whatsoever.
fair.
And then but the James Gunn movie was a pretty good time from what I remember. I've seen it once with friends, and I enjoyed myself.
Fair.
And just recently, it seems that Warner Brothers really wants to push the Suicide Squad into the public knowledge because they had a game this year. I won't blame you if you forgot about it because everything about that game leads to chaos and misery. But they had a game this year, and now they got an isekai anime of all
Yeah,
things.
the weirdest choice for the Suicide Squad ever, but something that well, what did
Because
you think of it?
well, before we start
Oh
getting
no,
to
fair,
this,
fair.
has this ever been done? Like, I'll tell you what, I know that there's an Avengers anime where the Avengers are like, kind of like power pets for a bunch of kids
Mm.
or something. The one I know that there was something like this because I've heard the theme song and the theme song actually slaps, but it's not. But I've heard that the show itself is not good. But this is pretty rare that an American superhero team gets an anime of any kind.
True.
So
But I am here for it. Like I don't know about you, but I've personally enjoyed seeing like Western stuff get the anime treatment here or there when we've been doing it, right? Like the few times we've done it so far. So,
and to
and I
be
would be here
honest,
to see more of it.
like it is also interesting. I'm not sure. Have you seen the Ninja Batman animated movie?
I
That
haven't. I need to
that
though.
I think that's something that might really strike that balance for you.
Mm.
So there's that. But as for the show itself, as soon as I've heard, you told me as soon as I've heard Suicide Squad Isekai, And this is not how we refer to it. This is the actual name of the show. You can probably see in the thumbnail. This
Yep.
is how the show is called.
Yep.
So I'm kind of giving credit for this some sort of self awareness. So I'm like, you know what? We are the outcast. Let's see what we have to say about it. And
Well,
I'm so, I'm so sorry to say I didn't like
you
this.
didn't. Aw.
And I assume you did.
I I will say that it is. Let's be let's be honest. Let's be frank. Let's be upfront. The story, very meh. But and
Meh is putting it lightly, but
it's
okay.
it's not a good story. Let's be clear. It's a very bad story. But I still had fun with it. I will say that I think it got better by the last two, maybe three episodes. Definitely two episodes. In that it realized, or at least to me, it felt like, okay, fuck it, let's just have fun with all this and let's just do some really silly, stupid stuff.
And
I think,
that's the kind of problem I had. I don't feel for a show that markets itself as Suicide Squad Isekai, like it's in the name, you can't. It doesn't have that much fun with itself.
yeah, it definitely, at least at the first, like for the first, I'll say like 6 to 8 episodes, it definitely plays itself too seriously, I think. And that's its problem. It doesn't realize that, hey, this is a very silly idea. This is a very wild and out there idea. And let's play with that, right? Like it tries to take it a bit too seriously, and I think that hurts the show and the story as well because
You know what? Just because I'm just gonna say so overall, I didn't like this much. You are leaning towards meh but positive, I guess you could say.
I had fun with it, right? Like I still had fun with it this whole way throughout. I think regardless of if you're a DC or a Suicide Squad fan or not, if you come into this expecting, all right, it's not going to be anything amazing, I think you can still walk away enjoying it and having some fun with it by the end. But just come into it expecting that, okay, this is not going to be anything amazing. This is not going to like blow you away with its compelling storytelling or character writing or anything. Just come into it expecting a very, it's a fine show that looks pretty good. And you'll walk away, I think, having some fun and enjoyment, as said.
Yeah, so because I don't really have not that much non-spoiler to say,
Well, I have a
so
little bit before we jump
okay.
into it. We should say this is by Wit Studio. For those of you who are unfamiliar with who that is, HC, I know you've watched at least one of their shows because we've covered it here on the Outcast, The Ancient Magus Bride. This Wit Studio, they animated
No,
season one of that.
you know what's so funny? I was getting vibes from that show.
Hmm, I'm not
Like
surprised.
I kind of got vibes in the sense of in terms of this is how you do it correctly, this is how you don't do it correctly.
Hmm.
So interesting, very
Uh,
interesting.
they're also behind Attack on Titan seasons 1 through 3, if you've
Hell
seen
yeah.
that. They are also behind Vinland Saga season 1. They
And
are.
if they did that, then that probably also means they did the animated intro for Sonic Riders. Hell yeah! But
They might have.
that's
I don't know if that's listed, but they
I,
also.
I know that there was talk about the fact that the Attack on Titan team did this really cool hand drawn Sonic intro once.
They
So
might have. But they also did. They co-animate Spy X Family with Cloverworks, and they are behind Ranking of Kings, as well as
okay,
something. Oh, go ahead.
no, I said okay then because I love Spy Family.
No, fair.
So
They co-animate it with Cloverworks, so they're not the only studio behind it, but they are like a part of that
but
production.
yeah, so
And then for something more recent, for those of you who might be familiar, Studio Wit are behind My Dear Friend Nokotan. So there's definitely
uh,
some pedigree behind Studio Wit. Like they've not been around for long. And I don't know if you noticed, but Studio Wit, a lot of those I said, season one, or say something recent that they have coming out, A Sentence of a Bookworm, season four. They don't tend to stick with shows, or they tend to produce a season and then let another studio take over.
up until that point, I'm not sure if the even also took over. But I know Spy Family season 2 is like halfway through, so I'm
Yeah,
not sure if
they
different
don't
studios animate that.
they
But
don't always do it, but they do stick with some shows because Ranking of Kings is something they've stuck with as well. The reason, from what I understand, they do this is because Studio Wit has a much slower production rate in terms of like what the anime industry wants. Like as I said, right, they did Attack on Titan. They did the first 3 seasons. That was the first thing they ever did. And I know the studio head is quoted as saying like, "Hey, we tend to like we can't keep up with that production quality with that production rate and keep the quality we want to keep sort of thing." So they will tend to like, there's the one we did and then we move on to something else. So
I very,
I respect that if that is the case. I could be wrong, so feel free to
I
say
can
I'm
I
wrong
can
in the comments.
totally respect a person who says, "Hey, you know what? We're asking too much of our employees.
Yeah,
We are going to step down for a bit."
fair.
So
But they do have a pedigree behind them, and something personally that I'm interested in, that we'll get to see in the future, is Studio Wit is also going to be the studio behind the One Piece, the remake anime they're doing of One Piece.
yeah, I've heard.
So that will be fun. And yes, I'm dragging HC kicking and screaming to watch that one.
Okay, okay, fair enough. So,
I will have One
spoilers.
Piece on this show, damn it.
You already did, and I would gladly watch the new
Animated
one.
one, animated One Piece. We've had live
Okay,
action. We got to get the
okay,
anime.
fair enough. We'll do the new one when it comes out because I'm actually really interested in that.
Fair, fair.
After seeing the live action, and also the fiance introduced me to one of the movies. I'm all in for watching the new one.
Fair.
I just don't have the time for over 10,000 episodes of a show. I'm sorry,
Fair. I
but.
understand. It's a commitment.
Mhm. So with that being said, moving on with the Suicide Squad Isekai. If you don't want to have any spoilers, this is the part where you close the video and go watch the show and come back afterwards. So spoilers in three, two, one. So I will say the show kind of had me at the start. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they had they had me at the beginning when when we kind of see Harley and the Joker do their thing. Amanda Waller is after their tail. Then there's the scene where Katana is fighting Harley, and that's it it's a bit, the animation in that fight scene was a bit sloppy to me, but I also felt like they're trying to have this some sort of like realistic proportions and weight to the characters, so maybe that was it.
Mm-hmm.
But then we get to the point of Harley is captured and they gather together with the rest of the team and they do the usual explanation. Oh, we are sending you to this mission and blah blah blah. If you don't comply, your head goes boom. Okay, this is like, okay, I get it. Traditional Suicide Squad stuff. I understand. And you have the team that you have that shot and you have the shark. You have, I don't recall Clayface ever being a part of the Suicide Squad, but then again, I am not that familiar with the team's history. And then Peacemaker is here. I had no idea he's a part of this too.
I assume
And
Peacemaker is here because the recent John Cena show has made him a little bit more popular, I believe.
I suppose,
Which I've
but it's
heard
also
the
like
John Cena show is quite good.
I've heard that it's good too, but like I had no idea that he's a part of it. But all right, if you say so, I'm not going to argue with that. So far, like, okay, it's Suicide Squad, but it's interesting. Okay, Suicide Squad is an anime. I'm rolling with this. And then the isekai part starts. Now,
Mm-hmm.
for the record, I don't really mind isekai, like, because again, you have to remind me the name of the show again. How was it called? The one that we did, which was basically Beauty and the Beast but anime. What was it called?
Oh, which one was that? I forget.
The one you just said its name. God damn it. The
Oh,
mod.
the Ancient Magus Bride.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
And so I can so we watched that, we covered it. I thought it was good. I
No,
thought that
Ancient
was
Magus
fun.
Bride is not isekai, to be clear.
fine, but I can dig the concept of people going into fantasy worlds. And not an anime, but Owl House, love that show. Amphibia, love that show.
No, Our
I can
House is
totally,
technically an isekai.
yeah, but
It's a portal
what I
fantasy, I believe we call it over here in the West.
but what I mean though is that it's not made in Japan, so some people technically won't count it as an isekai. What kind of the is Avatar anime argument or not? That kind of thing.
Mm.
Technicalities can rub it in for people. That's what I mean. So. I can dig the concept, but as soon as the isekai part starts, that's where the show completely falls flat for me. And the main reason is how many worlds like this have we seen? This is the most generic fantasy world I've ever seen in anything. And the Suicide Squad, at least in this, aren't interesting enough characters to carry this kind of premise through.
Mm. I would agree. Like it's very, it. I've seen a lot of isekai, so I've seen a lot of generic fantasy world. Insert number, blah blah blah. I love,
Yeah.
but as if I have not stated on here before, I'm pretty sure I have, but if I haven't, I love my trash isekai. I just enjoy them. I find them quite fun, and so I'm not as bothered by this. But yes, the fantasy world in this one is very generic. There is nothing really going on here that stands out as unique or interesting.
Like, okay, you have dragons, fine. We've seen dragons before. Orcs, we've seen those too. There's a kingdom in turmoil, and the person who just entered this world, has to help save it, even though we kind of think he's evil at the beginning. Fine, been there. And again, I have no issue with the fact that we've seen those things before. Again, Owl House, something that we've seen this kind of stuff done before, but nothing about this felt unique except for the fact these are DC Comics characters,
Mhm.
and that's not much of a hook because maybe if you're a Suicide Squad fan and you know these characters more, that can be more appealing because I did find Harley kind of funny in the show, so maybe that has something to do with it. But and I guess then you have Clayface there, which I think the main reason is there is to kind of make fun of the cliches. But at this point, it's kind of like so you know that you have a traditional show, then you're not really doing anything with it, but you think that making it self-aware somehow fixes the problem. And like maybe if it were Deadpool that did it, I would be able to accept it more, but it's
I
not
would be
Deadpool.
down for a Deadpool isekai as well. I won't
Oh,
lie.
that's the thing. That's the thing because with Deadpool you can actually go that direction, right?
Mm.
Deadpool is that type of character that will just blend perfectly into the scenario. And I think one of my problems here is at the end of the day, the reason that the Suicide Squad are sent into this isekai world is because apparently Amanda Waller has some intel about this world somehow.
She
Okay.
wants she Amanda Waller just wants more resources. And so the Suicide Squad are coming here to secure those resources. That's pretty much it. That's the story.
Yeah, and but then the other thing is that it seems to follow this kind of formula that the Suicide Squad help the kingdom, then they go back to prison. Help the kingdom, back to prison. Help the kingdom, back to prison.
Yeah.
And this is not a bad basis for a Suicide Squad show in terms of your villain of the week. They're in prison, but then they get them out to face the villain of the week, and they head back to the cell. All right, but I feel like the show is kind of at odds with itself in terms of does it want to be, each episode is a self-contained episode with your villain of the week, as I said, or does it want to be a full story? And you can't really have your cake and eat it too in this case.
Mm.
Both of those clash with each other a lot.
That is fair. I do have a question for you though. What did you think? Because I think you're a bit more familiar with this than I am. What did you think of the representation of the Joker in this show? I
No,
believe. Did you watch the Japanese or the Japanese cast or the English cast?
Japanese.
I watched the
Mm,
English. It's Scott Gibbs who plays the Joker in this one. I'm
I'll
curious.
need to
What did you
listen.
think of Japanese Joker?
It's I will say that it's just in general it is kind of weird to suddenly hear these characters speak in a language that I usually don't hear them speak in,
Fair.
because when I'm thinking of the Joker, I'm thinking Mark Hamill, I'm
Mm.
thinking as one of many, right? There have been many great Jokers over the years, but
I
I'm thinking, but when I'm thinking of the Joker voice, I'm thinking of Mark Hamill because of the animated series and the video games and stuff. So that's kind of the thing. But this one did feel different, but and to some in some ways I guess just in terms of general aesthetic, I think they were trying to go for the 2016 Suicide Squad. So I was a bit concerned when I realized that they probably want to make him more of a Jared Leto, because anyone can tell you that Jared Leto is not a good Joker. I am sorry to the two people who like him out there, not for me. Um, but it was interesting to kind of see a Joker that's a bit that I guess talks a bit that is seemed a bit more calculated in the way he talks, because usually the Joker is just nuts. He's going with the flow. He has plans, but he's not really. He's a mastermind, but he's a mastermind for his own fun. He's not really calculated.
Yeah.
So I kind of like this take where he's a bit calmer and a bit more. I guess I guess he's a bit more of a. They are going back a bit more to the gangster elements of the character from the start of the comics.
Mm.
And there is also something that I kind of like in the way that usually his makeup, it's just red over his lips, but now he actually has a full-on smile with teeth colored on top of his mouth, and I thought it was a kind of a cool idea to redesign him. Like it's a bit uncanny, but it works. I kind of like that. What I am not a fan of is the twist at the end.
Really? I kind of enjoyed that one a little bit.
It fell because I don't know, maybe it's just the fact. Let's say this. I am one of those people that's starting to have a bit of a Joker fatigue,
Fair.
which because anytime you are doing something with Batman, it's kind of like you need to have the Joker there, because there's some sort of a rule book that says you can't have a Batman thing without the Joker being hinted at least. And I kind of like that, he's not there all the time. He's just there to kind of set up Harley, what Harley's doing. But then when turns out he was behind it all, and he's the one, and he kind of controls the Isekai world, and he's controlling all of those things, and he was Katana the whole time. And uh, is this supposed to be a big twist that Joker is behind everything? Because I kind of saw it coming, because any story that's related to the Joker has to have him as the big surprise at the end. That's kind of I'm not surprised by that anymore. And two, really, if you're going isekai, if you're going into the whole thing, you have a new world, a new thing, just do something with it. Because if you're using the Joker again, what's the point of even setting of going isekai in the first place? Just make a Suicide Squad anime.
Fair. I will say, from what I understood, now don't quote me on this, I don't know how true this is, but from what I was able to read up on, Warner Brothers wanted the Joker to be more prevalent than what he is, and Studio Wit refused because they wanted to make that reveal a little bit more, have a little bit more oomph to it, like surprise you a bit more. So Studio Wit chose to use the Joker a lot less than what Warner Brothers wanted them to, supposedly.
Yeah, because I was about to say it did feel like there were a lot of notes of, we need Joker here, we need Joker, more Joker, put Joker in it for God's sakes. We have a
Yeah,
movie to promote.
that's what Warner Brothers wanted, but Studio Wit was like, no, 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 that'll ruin the reveal. And I would agree. I think it would ruin the reveal, right? And I think I think they were better served by using the Joker less, than what
Like, because
like they
I
did.
tell you what, if we haven't seen the Joker beforehand and then there was the reveal, it could have had a bit more of a weight. But we see him in flashbacks. We see him at the start. We see him. We kind of see not every episode, but we see him plenty to the point that
Warner
suddenly
Brothers
when
wanted him more.
yeah, and Warner Brothers wanted him more apparently. So again, it's like I don't. I love the Joker when he's done right, but at this point, I'm also sick of him.
That's fair. Like it's definitely like great character, but yeah, like there are other Batman villains you can use. There are you're and as you said, you're in this isekai world. Let's make a villain for this isekai world. And you did have one, but then you killed them off very quickly and the Joker's meant to be like the main villain now at the end of it all supposedly. Or
Been a great twist. You know what would have
maybe
been a great
maybe
twist?
they, if we get a second season, they have another twist planned that it's not the Joker. Ooh.
Yeah, but for one, you already played that card, pun not intended. And but you want
True.
a twist?
Hmm.
How about actually making it that one of the Suicide Squad, not Suicide Squad, one of the Justice League members is the main villain of the in the Isekai world? What if the Isekai world is actually? What if the leader is actually a Batman that's gone rogue or a Superman that's gone
Well,
rogue?
even if
But
it's not one of them, what if it's one of the magic users from the Justice League?
yeah, like or enter someone else though. Maybe there's a because there are other good villains in the DC continuity. You have Lex Luthor. You could have totally made him work in this scenario. Or
True.
hell, stick to Katana. Because what character does Katana have that that the general audiences know? That's Katana. She's got my back. I would advise you not to get attacked by her sword because it takes the souls of the people she kills with it. Make something with her besides that one stupid line that everyone quotes. By the way, this is an actual quote from the 2016 movie.
Fair. I think I remember it. Yeah,
Yeah, so like literally anything. Why the Joker again?
because I mean I get it to some degree. The Joker is connected to Harley, so it makes sense that you would see the Joker in flashbacks that Harley has, right? Because like these are
I don't
two
mind
connected
that
characters.
yeah, like go. I can understand that he's there, at the start, at the beginning, but suddenly you make it like he was Katana all along, and he pulled all the strings, and it's like, oh fuck's sake, really,
But yeah,
we're doing.
I do agree with you. It's very meh in terms of, especially if you are, if you have Joker fatigue. I don't think I have watched enough DC stuff to have the Joker fatigue, so I was pleasantly surprised by the little reveal. But I do get you in that it would have been nice if you would have done something a little bit different or more, or potentially just use the setting and kind of ran with it and just given us an isekai villain, a different one or something. I get exactly where you're coming from, and I don't disagree. I said I'm fine with it, but I get you.
With all of that being said, I don't think if there's anything else to say because again, there's
Well,
not much to really cover in this. Like maybe you can think of points to
I
cover
mean,
with this.
what did you think about some of the other villains we faced? The Thinker, Enchantress, like because I know these are people who are supposedly, if I'm not mistaken, like Enchantress. I know has been a part of the Suicide Squad before.
Enchantress is like a name that's definitely there, and I think she was used well enough. Again, keep in mind that the one thing I really know of Enchantress is the 2016 movie, and the less belly dancing, the better. I'll give this show that over the movie, but but I think she was done well because again, this is the point where the isekai parts actually start to come into form, and like suddenly we're getting this fantasy element to it. So and it makes sense to make it the enchantress the villain in this case. Like she was fun, and
The
I enjoyed
villain with red hair who wears a lot of green.
Yeah, I was actually thinking like, are you trying? There was a point where I was actually double taking: is she supposed to be Enchantress or Poison Ivy?
I, I I'm making fun of it because it's like we have our redheaded, wears a lot of green villain who
Yeah, Poison Ivy.
no, like, but yeah, that, but also it's like, that's Harley's type essentially.
Yeah, and well, you know that in the Harley Quinn show, I barely saw that, but I know that in that Harley and Poison Ivy are a thing.
Oh yeah,
I think
no, 100%. I know.
they're also a
I'm
thing in
very
the
well
comic.
aware.
So,
So
so yeah,
that's why I make the
basically,
joke. That's why I make the joke, right? Because like she's a thing with Poison Ivy, and then we have a villain in this show who's a redhead wearing a lot of green, and that's what I'm saying. It's Harley's type. I I I,
it's the,
I will be curious if they do something with that because I think that would be hilarious.
I think they're hinting that they're gonna do something with Harley and Princess Girl. You know,
What did you think of Harley's new fan?
I mean, I thought it was kind of cute to be honest, but again, it's one of those things that they don't really play up. Like
Yeah,
at
there's
no
not a lot
point,
of character to go with it
like
either.
they don't really talk at any point. They don't really say anything to each other. They just look at each other, and Holly might wink at her, and then the girl go, "Oh my God, she looked at me," you know. And I guess it's adorable, but also
But they
again,
started off hating, but Harley hated her at first. Now Harley likes her.
well, so again, it's it's kind of sad that this is the most reverse isekai you can do. That now the girl who came into the world, it doesn't really like the girl that's already in the world, and is develop as a crush on the newcomer. That's the most we do with the isekai formula in here, ladies and gentlemen.
Fair enough.
But yeah, I think it could have been cute, but again, they don't do anything with it because at the end of every episode, they just send them back to prison and nobody visits them. There's no chance for any of those characters to actually connect.
Yeah, that's probably like the biggest issue is that again, the Suicide Squad characters interact with one another a decent amount, but acting with the outside world, bleh, connecting with and acting with the outside world and these outside characters, we get very little of, right? Other
Yeah,
than like a few here or there, and when either they die or something else happens, the stakes don't feel high enough. Even though I would argue, like watching the animation of it all, like especially some of the fight scenes, is very enjoyable, especially close to the end.
yeah. Next, close to the end, it feels like suddenly they got a bigger budget because some of the fight scenes do look really cool.
But yeah, again, like I said, right? Like I fully get it, and I definitely agree. Like there's a lot of I hate this phrase, but it does make sense here, like wasted potential, right? In that you could have done more with this, you could have went further with it, but like it feels like you played it very safe and it's very bare bones, just enough to like get the idea across and then just run with it, basically.
It's not even an idea of playing it safe. It's just
I
that
think it is personally.
like no, like it is don't get me wrong, there's a lot of playing it safe, but I'm also saying that what did you even try and focus on? Are you focusing on building up this world? Are you focusing on the Suicide Squad because that's what people know? And again, the more I'm thinking about it, was it even a matter of two shows that were supposed to be two completely different things and then they merged it into one? It something feels like there were production problems here.
That
Something feels like
I will guarantee you it definitely was not supposed to be two shows because the isekai part is so not fleshed out. There is no way that was meant to be its own show. Let's be honest.
you could never know. But I
No,
am
I firmly believe that. There's no way. That would be unequivocally the trashiest of trash isekai. And I have seen some trash now. There is no way the isekai part was meant to be its own show.
if you say so. Well, I'm not necessarily saying that the isekai part was supposed to be its own show, but like maybe they took a draft of like an of something else that wasn't finalized yet, and then they decided, ah, you know what, put the Suicide Squad in there for.
Maybe, but it, there's a good reason that draft never made it past the first one. Then
Because, but it feels like I'm not sure if maybe DC was pushing more for something, maybe the studio was pushing more for something, maybe they just didn't. Maybe there was some sort of production problems. I don't know, but what I can tell you is that this show is just kind of a mess, and the worst part is that I kind of wanted to like it more, and two, it's not even a mess that I can sit down here and analyze to you exactly where it fails by like nitpicking moments or something. Because when this ended, I just kind of felt empty. I forgot I even watched the show for this podcast. I'm looking at notes here and I barely have anything.
I again, right? Like for me, like I get that. I would definitely liken this to junk food of a thing like, hey, I watched it, I had fun with it, now I move on. There's nothing here that's going to stick with you, right? Nothing. Other than some very cool animation, some fun fight scenes with Suicide Squad. You get some magical girl transformations with the Suicide Squad. You didn't enjoy that, HC? God.
Oh, that was kind of funny. I will say that was kind of funny.
You get you
You
got
say
you got
the
fans, you
one
got
point.
equal opportunity fan service with Harley and Peacemaker.
Tell me, but you know, with Peacemaker, it was kind of entertaining. But with Harley, Harley's entire character is fan service.
Fair.
In every fucking incarnation, there's a point of her that's like, look at my ass. Now look at my boobs. Don't I look good, Puddin? So we've seen plenty of that.
Uh-huh.
You're laughing, but you know I'm right.
No, no, fair, fair. But, hey, they equal opportunity here. We got some fan service for Peacemaker too, in case, you were missing that.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess this was all right, but at the
No, but
same,
it's definitely a show that, again, I think it does I hope, right, that it continues to do what episode 9 and 10 did at the end of this season. If it gets a second season, they continue forward with it, and that is really just go off the walls with it and do fun, silly stuff like the magical girl transformations with the magic armor and stuff like that. And just doing stuff like that because I think that'd be way more fun. And just
yeah.
really play with the idea.
Like it's again, it's one of those. I want to like this because there is a way to do it.
Mhm.
You know, there is there is a way to do this, and I know that with that there was obviously some ideas here that could have worked. I'm just not sure if it was a matter of timing or studio notes or DC notes, and something just got lost in everything.
Mm. Oh, I meant to ask. What did because we talked about Harley. What did you think about some of the other Suicide Squad characters and how they were played, like Clayface or Peacemaker, like the ones might have some
Peacemaker,
understanding of.
like Peacemaker, I barely know,
Fair.
so not much.
I
You
know
know,
a bit about the John Cena incarnation, but that's about it.
yeah, but I don't really know about it. The shark is usually the funny one. I so kind of sucks that it didn't really get to be funny. That shot is kind of cool, I suppose. You can tell that they really want to lean into the idea that Will Smith played him back in 2016, and Clayface was, n- which again I'm not really familiar with these characters
Mm.
besides some of them being Batman villains, but Clayface I kind of found odd in the way that because he's an actor that can really change himself, that he's just like in a sense the Deadpool quote unquote for this, that he's like, we're in an isekai. Oh, usually in an isekai this happens, and usually this happens, and
Mm-hmm.
To some extent, I kind of find it endearing, but at some point, I'm also like, oh, for the love of
I
God.
wish you would have watched the English version of this because I will note this originally aired in English. It did not originally air in Japanese. This was
Oh,
made for an English audience first and then aired in Japanese later. I think there's some things that would have landed better, and I think I wish I would have watched a few episodes of the Japanese, but watching the English and hearing you talk, I think there are a few jokes that land better in the English version with the English VAs than it does with the Japanese VAs.
maybe, I don't know, but it felt like it's I guess it's okay for the start, like that he know that suddenly he calls themselves out, hey, we were in an isekai,
Mm.
ha, funny. But then he's just like the guy who's there because I guess maybe they figure out there's going to be like a gap that Suicide Squad fans might watch it because it's Suicide Squad, but they don't really watch isekai, so they need the nerd fan to explain to them what an isekai is. And but at some point it became less self-aware, funny, and just like, oh my god, I'm here for a show, not a Wikipedia summary.
I did kind of love though when Amanda Waller blows up Clayface's head and Clayface is like, "Well, I'm back," because like they're in that entire time, right? You're kind of sitting there. It's like, would getting blown up really be a problem for Clayface? And obviously, no, it wouldn't, right? So I did kind of love that little joke. And I do want to give the studio some nod, right? Because there's a lot of slapstick humor that you don't see in regular Japanese anime that you do tend to see in Western cartoons, right? That I think you get from this show that I think is really enjoyable nod tos. Like seeing the stuff with Enchantress in the later in the like the last two episodes, right? And it just being a bunch of like slapstick comedy, I thought was really interesting and enjoyable.
Yeah, but again, I think to be fair, while I appreciated that near the end things kind of picked up, it was too little, too late.
That's fair.
In my-
I also I also enjoyed though. I don't know if they did it in the Japanese. You'd have to tell me if they did or not. But in the English, like there's a bunch of like, oh, but this thing about Game of Thrones, or this thing about Tom and Jerry, or this thing about Lord of the Rings. It's like, okay,
it,
Warner Brothers.
they do reference those in
Mm.
the Japan. Yeah, which I get like and like, okay, I guess I could get it.
Mm.
I can get it. And usually I'm one of those people that's like not necessarily against reference pop cultural references in
Well,
things,
there's nothing
but
good about it. It's very like shallow. It's just like Warner Brothers
but
owns
like
this property, so we can say this in our show and it not get us in trouble. Is basically
but
what
like
it
let's
amounts
say
to.
Lord of the Rings though, I get it. What does Tom and Jerry have to do with
Because it's just a joke, and Warner Brothers owns Tom and Jerry, so.
it? But just because you own it doesn't mean you have to use it.
But but self-referential, HC. It's funny, haha, laugh.
I get it, and again, I'm usually people who know me know that I'm usually all right with these kinds of jokes, but this one just felt too too odd because here's the thing, I can tell you how they can make their joke work. Reference actual isekai anime.
No, so I mean, HC, they're preparing you for the Tom and Jerry isekai.
Oh my fucking god! Like, of all the things you should never do, never make Tom and
I
Jerry
mean,
isekai.
technically, Tom and Jerry have already isekai. They went to like the Wizard of Oz, so
I
they.
was I was just about to reference that. Like they're already making it. It's just American. But two, that's the other thing. Never try and give Tom and Jerry a plot. Just let them chase each other and have funny slapstick. That's all they need.
I'm kind of here for a Tom and Jerry anime though. That would be
Uh,
insane. I'm kind of here for that. I kind of want to see that because that's going to be a train wreck, and I'm here for that train wreck.
Jerry-san, be prepared to be captured by Tomu. I don't know. I'm sorry.
I'm kind of here for that train wreck, HC. I kind of want to will that into existence.
To
Warner
be
Brothers,
honest,
do it.
I'll tell you what. If they actually do it, I'll watch the shit out of that, and we'll talk about it. But also, no.
Maybe it'll be better than this. Maybe it'll be worse than. It doesn't matter. I think it'll be a train wreck no matter what. And as said, I'm here for that train wreck. I want to watch that train explode and wreck in slow motion because that is going to be a wonderful sight to behold. But also, we're talking about Tom and Jerry as an anime now, not this show. So
Yeah. And that's the kind of thing that kind of bums me out the most. I don't have much to say.
that's
Like,
fair. I get it.
we've covered shows that I could say are worse than this, but I had something to talk about and bring examples to, and we would actually have conversations about this. This is just kind of there, and I don't. If it gets a second season, then yay for the people who like it. But if it doesn't get a second season, I would also be like, all right, sure. I don't care. I don't.
I'm
I don't
personally
care
here for a
either
second
way.
season, especially if they do more of what they did in the last, like, I guess, third. You'd say, like, yeah, like the last third. If they do more of what they did in the last third, then I'm here for a second season personally. At least to like finish it off, and then that's it. If it
Let's
doesn't,
see.
it's no great loss. I'm not like hurting from it. I had fun enough with it.
Because I tell you what, a second season can also give them a chance to improve things, and I'm not sure what the general consensus about that show is. I've seen people who liked it, I've seen people who hated it,
From what
so
I
I'm not.
understand, the show it's done well streaming number wise, but for the most part, it's been pretty like I don't want to say panned, but it's been very meh. Like I think most people rate it like if you do the number thing. I don't subscribe to the number thing, but most people have given it like a 5.5 to 6 out of 10, and that's pretty much it. So I think like if you look at
Uh,
Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb and stuff like that, it has what's the name of the site? It's the anime site. Fuck,
Tomatoes.
Mao is what it is. Mao, if you're a big anime fan, like if you look on there, I think it also has like a 5 or a 6 somewhere in that area, maybe a 7 at best.
So yeah, all I'm gonna say is if it gets a second season, it can give them a chance to improve things. So I'll be down to see them try and make it better, and maybe the twist can win me over. But as it stands right now, not not my favorite. I'm sorry to say.
Yeah, a quick little Google of just looking at this on Mao, my anime list. For those who don't know, this is rated like at a 6.6, so basically like very middle of the road, which makes a lot of sense. As I said, I
Yeah.
completely get it. This is definitely a middle of the road show. I had fun with this one, more fun than what I thought I would walking into it. So I walk away. You know what? I'm interested in a second season. Hopefully, they do more of what they did in the last third and just kind of go really out there with it and be a little bit more zany with it and just try to like do random weird shit with it and have a lot more fun with it. And I think it'll do a lot better because you're not here for the story. You're not here for the character development. Like they just don't come here for that. Don't come here expecting anything from that. You're not going to get that here. You get like a tiny bit of character stuff, and that's pretty much it. Nothing else.
Meh, I am just like don't really care at the end of the day.
If
I
it doesn't, yeah, like it's no great loss. You'll go
like
into
no.
this one having some
And
fun, and
if
that's it.
it's cancelled, no great loss. If it gets a second season, then you know what? Let's see if it can get better. But I will say though, if there are fans of the show who wants a second season, then I hope you'll get it. And please continue to enjoy that show. Just because I don't like it doesn't mean you can't enjoy it.
Sure.
Now, for anything else to say about the matter, because I'm really drawing a blank here. I think I
No, I
covered
think
everything
we
I
are
came
done. I
up.
think we've covered everything as much as we could.
Okay, so I guess that's it for this episode of the Outcast. We hope you enjoyed it. What do you think about the Suicide Squad Isekai? And is there anything else Suicide Squad related that you like and would probably want us to talk about in the future at some point? You can tell us all about it in the comment section below, on our Twitter, which is Berkcast with a capital B, capital C, and on our Tumblr, which is Berkcast Team. and by shooting Batman in the face. Wink, wink. So until next time, I was HC.
I was Wolf.
And we will see you all in the next episode. Take care.
Bye bye.